Hi, I'm pleased to be joined by Eric Peeney from the Ryan Group. Ryan specializes in funding related applications for Canadian companies. Right now, there's a lot of action in the marketplace in terms of supply chain volatility, in terms of companies who need to invest, AI, things like that. And the good news for many organizations out there is that the government's stepping up. We've recently released the new budget, and there's programs that are being rolled on, other programs that are being rolled off. So what I'd like to do is hand the floor to Eric, who's going to tell us a little bit about himself, tell us a little bit about the Ryan Company, but more importantly, you're going to get into the stuff that's really important for our audience, and that's funding programs. And what we want to do is, because this is a super ever changing type of marketplaces, get you back on here periodically, every month, every 2 months, talk about what's changed. So we encourage you to tune into this space. Eric, off to you.
Yeah, thanks, John. I appreciate that. So my name's Eric Pini. I'm a director of client services here on the Ryan government funding team. And like John mentioned, really busy in the government funding landscape right now with the volatility on the tariff side, but also on regular scheduled funding programs that we usually see this time of the year. Fall leading into winter is generally really busy. So we're full tilt going into the end of the year right now. I'm happy to share about 6 or 7 programs, as well as some updates on ones that currently aren't open for the purpose of digital and technology adoption, as well as general CapEx programs too. So I'll dive right into it right here on what we're seeing. And yeah, thanks again for having me, John. It's good to be back, and I'd be happy to hop on every 1 or 2 months with these government funding programs. It's all about timing, as you know. They open, they close, and usually they're cyclical in nature. So, I think updates every couple of months would be good to keep everybody informed on what's currently available. Before I get into specific programs, I just want to go over a general funding program eligibility. This isn't, set in stone. If, you have less than 5 employees, or if, you're incorporated for less than 2 years, that doesn't mean that you're not eligible for all programs. But generally speaking, if you check the boxes on all of these points right here, you're eligible across the board for funding programs in all of the different buckets. So, 5+ payroll employees, 2+ years of financials or incorporation. And then, if you're in manufacturing, ag, software development, there's generally always programs available. Again, if you're not in these industries, that's not to say that there aren't programs available, but this is kind of just an all-encompassing general eligibility overview here. We'll get right into currently active programs, as well as some updates on programs that are closed but should be reopening in the future that can assist with a digital adoption. So we're going to be focusing on the buckets of hiring and training and capital investment and tech adoption today. There's also buckets of funding for R&D, as well as business expansion and exporting activities as well. So today's focus programs on hiring and training and capital investment and tech adoption. So first, going into hiring programs, co-op programs. So those go in terms, if you're looking to take on, co-op students to assist with your digital adoption incentives, then the co-op programs can be great to tap into. They can provide $5,000 to $7,000 per candidate per term. You're usually looking at 12 to 16-week terms, as long as they're being paid minimum wage and working for most programs a minimum of 10 hours per week. 10 hours per week, yeah, correct. Then you can tap into these. What it's about for these co-op hiring programs is finding eligible streams. So for the most part, if you have a candidate looking to fill a role that's digital in nature, to assist with anything that involves any sort of digital technology, they're always open streams for that. So I'd recommend just reaching out to myself or someone on my team and inquiring the kind of role you're looking to fill, and we can see if there's an open stream that'll support that. Updates on the hiring end right now, they're slowly starting to open for the HR term beginning in January. The digital stream is open. Manufacturing industry co-ops are also opening right now. I think over the coming weeks, we'll start to see more and more streams open that'll support a wider variety of roles. But as for right now, yeah, just reach out. I always say just inquire the kind of role that you're looking to fill, and we can let you know if there's an open co-op hiring stream that'll support that. On the other part of hiring programs would be young graduate hiring programs. So typically that would be between 0 and 3 years from diploma date, not a current employee, no nepotism, and that applies as well as the co-op. So if there's any relation to ownership at the company, unfortunately the co-op or the young graduate wouldn't be able to take advantage of the grant. For the post-secondary and undergraduate programs, a minimum of 6 months, and you can earn up to 80% of wages, up to $30,000 per hire for those young graduates. So, up to the age of 30, if you're looking for a tenured employee for the post-secondary positions, then it's not going to work. As long as we're within 3 years of their diploma, then we can probably find an open stream that can support their role. So, like I always say, the hiring streams are ever changing. So just reach out, inquire what kind of role you're looking to fill. We'll see if there's an open hiring stream that'll support that role. So Canada Job Grant. So this is the hiring and training. This is the training grant. Canada Job Grant is a kind of a general overview. Each province has its own specific training grant. In Ontario, it's the Canada Ontario Job Grant. Alberta is the Canada Alberta Job Grant, so on and so forth. So this is great if you're looking to upskill your staff with any sort of digital adoption that you're implementing at your company. If you have less than 100 employees, they can cover up to 83% of training costs to a maximum of $10,000 per employee. Here in Ontario, if you're over 100 employees, then it's 50%. It varies province to province. Alberta, 66% of training costs, BC, 80% of training costs. But again, reach out and we can let you know if it's currently open, because right now it is paused nationwide. The federal government announced some recent budget changes, and they did mention that they're injecting a lot of cash, about in the tune of $400 million or so, to hiring and training programs here in Canada. As a result of that, the training grants are on a temporary pause as they do some rejigging. Should be opening up, we're predicting, within the next couple of months. So if you're looking for any training in 2026, then we can begin to explore that now, but should be opening up within the next couple of months. So a great thing about this program, third-party service providers, what we need for an application for this is a proposal from the training provider, the employees that are participating, and where they're located. You can have up to 25 employees per training, and you can apply for this program up to 2 times per year. So great program for upskilling the staff. It is a very wide variety of training that they'll cover here. It could be general, it could be, a skilled training. So again, best to reach out, inquire about the type of training that you're looking to upskill your staff on, and we'll let you know if it's an eligible training topic, and we can walk you through everything for this. So this one currently paused right now, like I said, should be opening up. Co-ops slowly opening up. So those are the updates on the hiring and training end.
Before we move off that, Eric, but I got a question.
Sure, John. Yes.
So if we get a hiring grant and then we want to apply a training grant, can we stack those things? So in other words, take advantage of the hiring grant and then take advantage of the training grant to bring on that recent hire?
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. I mean, that's actually what they like to see with the training grants, that they do go hand in hand like that. And that's part of the purpose while they're in place. It doesn't have to be a new hire to access the training grant, but it's definitely a bonus if they are. So they definitely can go hand in hand, and they encourage the stacking of those. So
excellent.
So getting into some updates on the capital investment and technology adoption side of things, as John mentioned at the beginning of the presentation here, there's been a big focus, of course, on tariff relief right now. But again, that's not to say that the regularly occurring CapEx programs aren't open either, which they are. So my approach with my clients has kind of been twofold here. First, kind of going over, have there been any tariff impacts at the company? If yes, then we can kind of start going the direction of the tariff impact programs. If no, then like I mentioned, the regular CapEx programs are currently open as well. So we'll touch briefly on all of them. And again, I'd be happy to go over in a separate meeting kind of which direction would be the best to take in terms of, are there enough impacts on your company that we can go that tariff relief route, or the regular CapEx program route. So the Regional Tariff Response Initiative opened up a couple of months ago. This is the main federal tariff response program. So it's run through FedDev. It's available nationwide. And what they'll provide is up to $10 million per project in the form of an interest-free loan, or you can choose an alternative option of up to $1 million in the form of a non-repayable covering 50% of project costs. So my recommendations to my clients have just been totally dependent on project. If they have a massive project that they're looking to implement that's going to cost, $10-15 million, then the interest-free loan at 75% of project costs is probably the route that you want to go. If you have a smaller project, in the $500,000 to $2 million range, then you probably want to target the non-repayable grant, which will cover 50% up to $1 million. So this, to qualify for this program, twofold here. They're looking for tariff impacts. Now we can get a little bit creative to a certain extent. It could be direct or indirect impacts. Direct impacts being you're incurring tariffs, and as a result, there's a loss of sales in tariff impacted sectors like the US. If you're in steel, auto, aluminum, other heavily impacted sectors, then that gives a leg up as well. We can look at indirect impacts such as sales, future POs. Some companies have longer sales cycles, and you're quoting less right now than you were at the same point last year, although it hasn't quite reflected yet on the revenue side. So we can start to dig a little bit deeper to look at those impacts to see if we can qualify for this program. But it's a great program. They announced $1 billion to this program, $500 million alone for Ontario-based companies. It's got an open intake, no deadline. We expect it to be around and flush with funding for at least the next 6 to 12 months. So even if you don't have those impacts now and you don't have a project in place for this, then just know that it will be around for the foreseeable future. So if things do take a turn, then this program should be there to support. So great program. Yeah, John.
Can we pause here for 1 second? I
Sure.
think this is really important. And I think
Sure.
our client base and our clients who are rejigging their supply chains, who are
Yeah.
updating everything from how they source to their distribution models and their 3PL strategy, the systems and the processes that support it, all the way to the technical work, to updating invoices and logic, to calculate tariffs and country of origin. I mean, there's a ton of work that our clients are doing in order to respond to the gyrations. Is that the type of stuff that's covered here?
Absolutely. That's exactly what they're looking for. So in terms of eligible projects for this particular program, anything from digitizing, automating, or adopting technology to boost your productivity and competitiveness, reduce end costs, building partnerships, optimizing supply chains, ensuring standards compliance, strengthen domestic and global presence, market diversification, enhancing your domestic supply chains and internal trade to improve market resilience, business support, market development, reshoring or onshoring production, R&D or talent to Southern Ontario, particularly for the Ontario stream of this program. Absolutely. Those are the types of projects that they're prioritizing for this grant.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah. No, you're welcome. You're welcome. So yeah, like I mentioned, currently open. Timelines for this program. Now, they're a little bit slow on the review process, probably take about 4 months or so to hear back after we submit an application. That doesn't mean that the projects can't commence right away. Project spend can begin the day after submission of the application for this program.
Fantastic.
And one of the very rare instances for a CapEx program where we can go back retroactively too, which is an important piece to mention. I'm glad I didn't forget that. We can actually build the budget out beginning March 21st of earlier this year, right? When those tariffs hit, we can build the budget out. 99% of time, CapEx programs are all forward facing, right? We can't go back and include costs that we've already incurred. This program, different. We can go back to March of this year and build the budget out from there and include costs that you've already incurred.
Are there upper bands relating to company size from an eligibility perspective? So number of employees or revenues?
Yeah, absolutely. So 500 FTEs would be the max. So anything more than that on the enterprise level, unfortunately, wouldn't qualify for this. And incorporation for at least 3 years for this particular program.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, yeah, you're welcome.
If
So going on to the next tariff response program. Now, this is the provincial equivalent to the regional tariff response initiative. This program is called the Ontario Together Trade Fund. Similar in nature, they'll provide up to 75% of eligible project costs up to $5 million. This program opened up in April, well before the RTRI federal program that I mentioned in the previous slide. We're just starting, again, review process, definitely on the slower side for this one. That doesn't mean that you can't incur project costs right after you submit the application, you can. But for this particular program, slower on the review process, and we've seen some wins starting to trickle in now, finally, after about 6 months or so, and they're in the 20 to 30% range. So it's says 75 up to 75% there. It'd have to be almost the perfect project. We haven't seen any funding at 75%. It looks like the sweet spot is 20 to 30%. And I think that's because they're trying to space out the funds for this program. So they just announced a top up of $100 million 2 weeks ago. And I know that they're probably going to want to try to spread out the funding as much as possible. So that's why we're expecting wins in the 20 to 30% range. Again, this program, you can't choose a grant or a loan option. It's totally discretionary up to the program. So it's on a case by case basis. We've been seeing just grant funding come back. And I think that it'll continue that way, maybe until the funding starts to wear thin, where they'll maybe go towards the repayable loan option. But as of now, we've been seeing wins in the 20 to 30% range in non-repayable form. So what they're looking for is a minimum project spend of $200,000. This program, particularly, obviously, Ontario-based companies, and again, 500 or less employees for this one. So, but yeah, what they're looking for, tariff impacted projects, similar to RTRI. So those types of direct, this one has a little bit more of a direct impact emphasis as opposed to the RTRI, where you can get a little more creative with indirect impacts that can be stacked together. And you can stack them for a maximum of 90% of project costs, which is great and typically unheard of with the CapEx programs. On the next slides that we'll review, the stacking max is at a 50% for CapEx, like digital and technology implementations, equipment and machinery purchases. For this particular program, can go up to 90%. One thing I wanted to mention as well, for more so for the RTRI program, before I'm going to go back for 1 second, John, is that we can include other sorts of expenses for this program as well, such as salaries of employees that match with the project and what we're looking to apply for, as well as marketing efforts for market diversification as well. So it's not just digital technology implementations, machinery and equipment purchases. It's a very, very broad range of eligible cost categories that we can include on the application for the regional tariff response initiative. So these two can be stacked together and reach out, because there are some of the provinces, not all of them, have provincial equivalents that we could target as well. The regional tariff response program available nationwide.
So just to make sure I understand that and our audience understands that, when we have a client who has people who are out there figuring out how to update their distribution strategy, bring on new 3PL partners, perhaps update their product sourcing strategy, how they label the products, and capture things like country of origin, how they do the invoicing, and put in the systems and processes to support that internal labor is something that can be eligible for coverage. And in addition to that being covered, we can stack these programs together up to, I think you said, 90% of the value of the cost.
That's all correct, John. Yeah. So any internal labor as well as external consulting costs as well. So if you so any of those internal labor costs or external consulting costs can all be included for both of these programs. And yes, we can stack to a maximum of 90%. I'd say expect somewhere in this 60 to 70% range from what we've been seeing. So
fantastic.
So now those are the tariff response program right now. Like I mentioned before, if we want to go over impacts, I'd be happy to have a call, and we can kind of qualify the project, qualify the tariff situation that you have going on, and decide from there if we can target these programs. If you haven't been, if you've been lucky enough to not be impacted by tariffs, but you do have, a technology or digital adoption projects or CapEx projects you're looking to implement, then the regularly occurring CapEx programs are still open and available as well. First one being the Southwestern Ontario Development Fund. Now, again, this is Ontario specific. Each province has its own CapEx funding program. And in terms of what they offer, they're all very, very similar. So if you are outside of Ontario, I'd be happy to go into the specific program for that. This particular program, SWATIF, I use acronyms because the names are so long, but this program opened up 2 weeks ago, on November 4th, intake deadline of February 3rd. Project spend can begin to be incurred on February 4th for this program. You won't hear back for about 90 to 100, 120 days. They actually gave a notification deadline as well online. I'd have to double check on that, but this currently is open for application right now. This is a loan-based program, so they'll provide 15% of eligible project costs up to a maximum of $500,000. Sorry about that. What they're looking to fund are any sort of projects that enhance production competitiveness in your industry. So technology adoption is a great one. Any machinery equipment purchases. So what they're looking at, so project duration for this one, typically 2 to 4 years. So they don't want to see, a quick implementation. So what we usually like to do for these programs is build out a well-rounded budget that's at least 2 to 4 years in duration. What are you looking to implement in year one? What are you looking to implement in year two? So on and so forth, and build out a larger overall project to make it as competitive as an application as we can. So one good thing about this program, yes, it is loan-based and it is interest-bearing. If project objectives are met, though, there is a 30% forgivable portion to this program. So they'll support 15% of eligible project costs. Of that 15%, 30% can be forgiven. And I guess we can look at that as kind of a grant for all intents and purposes. But 5 to 10 full-time employees, depending on if you're rural, it can be 5. If you're non-rural, it could be 10 employees would be the minimum. 3 years of incorporation, and they're looking for project budgets 200K plus for rural, 500K plus for non-rural for this particular program. But this one's a great program. Usually comes around every year. They've already released all the intakes for next year. So if the current intake is a little too early for you, there's another one coming around in April, I believe, and then one more before the end of 2026 as well. So this is a program that we can kind of plan ahead for, and that it's going to be there for when you're looking to implement the digital technology adoption projects that you have. So so AMIC. So this program right here, I guess this would be kind of worth explaining. So the next program I'm going to mention on the next slide, the Advanced Manufacturing Innovation Competitiveness Program, is the same program, but the Southwestern Ontario Development Fund or the Eastern Ontario Development Fund are geographically limiting. So any companies, I'd say west of Hamilton, would be eligible for the Southwestern Ontario Development Fund, and companies east of Oshawa, I'd say, would be eligible for the Eastern Ontario Development Fund. For companies that are in the GTA, we would be targeting the Advanced Manufacturing and Innovation Competitiveness Program. It offers the same things, 15% up to a maximum of $5 million with a forgivable portion. They look at, investment in capital equipment or technology, increased production and efficiencies and overall competitiveness in your industry. Same program, but for those GTA-based companies in manufacturing, whereas SWATIF and the EODF program are for companies outside of the GTA. This program also currently open, same timelines, February 3rd intake deadline. They also have the other intakes next year as well. Exact same as the programs on the previous slide. This program, definitely worth mentioning because this is a great program for digital and technology adoption, and it's a grant program. It's the Ontario Automotive Modernization Program, OAMP for short. So if you're in the automotive supply chain here in Ontario, then this program, highly recommend targeting it every year. My team has a very, very high success rate with this program. We're going at about 90% success rate with this. It's a great program. Usually opens up late winter. early spring. So now would be the time to start kind of preparing and getting the budget together for this program. We know it's going to open up, and especially now with the whole tariff situation, I'd be very, very surprised if this program didn't open up. Although we haven't heard any announcements yet, it opens up every year. So they'll provide 50% of funding costs up to a maximum of $150,000. So if you have a $300,000 project, you'd be maxing out the ask at $150K. They're looking for 3 years of incorporation, 500 less than 500 full-time employees, less than 1 billion in global revenues. You're going to need to provide 2 years of financial statements. And they want to see at least 30% of sales to the auto supply sector. But previously used to be 50. They lowered it this year to 30. Might even be lower than that next year. But from the previous intake, 30% of total sales to the auto supply sector. So purchase and implementation of hardware and software licensing costs, training and development, subcontractor consultant fees related to lean manufacturing, and any external third-party training are all eligible cost categories for this program. So if you're in the automotive supply chain, then highly recommend targeting this program for any projects you have in 2026. And again, should be opening up probably late winter, early spring.
Does this cover distributors as well as manufacturers, only manufacturing companies?
It'd be manufacturing companies. So manufacturing usually in tier 1 or tier 2 supply chain for the automotive sector.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Last deadline, so I see in my notes here that deadline this current year to apply was July 22nd. So it usually stays open for 2 months or so. But like I mentioned, usually springtime it opens up. So feel free to reach out at any time on this one. And I'm sure I'll have an update the next time that we do a little presentation, John. So FedDev Ontario, the Grow, Innovate, Compete program. This program used to be called the BSP, Business Scale Up and Productivity Program. So this is run through FedDev Ontario, the same, just like the RTRI program, the Regional Tariff Program. This is the non-tariff equivalent to that. Great program. This one usually opens for a couple of intakes every year as well. The only difference being, so this one opened up late August. The only difference being with this one is they didn't give an intake deadline this time, which is odd. The past few years, they've given intake deadlines. This one is open. So, first come, first serve until the funds are dispersed. Last contact we had with the program, they're still very flush with funding. So it'll probably be around for at least the next 6 months. What they'll provide for this one is 50% of project cost to a maximum of $10 million in the form of an interest-free loan. They're looking for projects 2 to 4 years in duration, so the same type of projects as the SWAT program, and they can be stacked together. So this FedDev program can be stacked with the AMIC program, as well as the SWAT and EODF program to maximize funding return. What they're looking for, so eligibility, incorporated in Ontario, a minimum of 5 employees and at least 3 years of business operations. And they'll look to fund projects that are developing commercialization or producing new and innovative products, improving productivity, capacity, and competitiveness, which is where that technology and digital adoption would fall into those categories, any equipment or machinery purchases, and then scaling up or expanding business lines to tap into new markets or reach new customers. Great program. Very favorable repayment terms as well. So like I mentioned, they like to see those projects that are 2 to 4 years in duration. Repayments begin 12 months after project completion. So there's no repayments during the project. They begin 12 months after project completion, and typical repayment terms are 5 years. So you're looking at about 8 to 10 years or so before it has to be repaid, remaining interest-free the entire time. So it's a great program in that sense. Currently has an open intake. You could begin to incur project cost the day after application submission because there's no intake deadline. And again, first come, first serve basis for this. So this one can be stacked with the provincial CapEx programs, and this is a non-tariff program right here. One other one, this one isn't open yet. It's the Regional Artificial Intelligence Initiative. This is run through FedDev as well. I know that AI is kind of a hot new topic right now, and the federal government's definitely prioritized funding for AI adoption, as well as any AI commercialization projects too. This program, we're hoping it's going to open next year. We don't have any updates. I wanted to include it because we know that they are prioritizing AI, so I'd be surprised if they don't open this again in 2026. But this is an interest-free loan program. So similar in terms to the FedDev program on the previous slide, because it is run through FedDev. And what they'll provide is $500,000 to $3 million, 50% of project costs. And they have two different streams. They have AI adoption and AI commercialization. So adoption, we're looking to adopt AI into our day-to-day operations, or commercialization, we're creating an AI technology for the purpose of commercialization at the end of the day. So two different streams, great program. You only need 1 year of incorporation, only need a minimum of one full-time employee, and you have to operate facilities in a specific province. So this program they actually had nationwide. So great program. Hopefully it opens up again. But I felt like I should include it just because AI adoption is a huge thing that's been going on over the past year, and I think that the government will continue to prioritize that. So DMAP, I know a lot of people are familiar with the DMAP program. Won't get into it too much. Just want to give an update that it is fully subscribed now, so it's not open for application. But this program opens every year, so we should see it open up hopefully sometime in 2026. This is a great program for those digital and technology adoptions, and hopefully we'll see it open up. But yeah, this one again, two-phase program. This one with the TDP program. DMAP is kind of the first step, and you can get 50% up to $15,000 for that, that technology, audit where, a company will come in, assess your technological needs, and then TDP is the second part, the implementation portion of those technological needs that from the DMAP program. So both are closed right now. Hopefully opening up sometime in 2026. And again, feel free to always reach out for updates. And I'm sure with my next sit down with John, when we do another presentation, I'll have an update on this program. So we're always in constant contact with various levels of provincial and federal government contacts that we have. So yeah, hopefully this opens up sometime in the near future, but currently closed for intake, fully subscribed.
So before we get off this, we have a number of DMAP projects that are in flight right now where we're brought in as the service provider to do the digital assessment.
Yes.
The digital assessment tends to be a precursor to the technology demonstration program that's fully funded. So for clients of ours who have a DMAP project in flight, will they be eligible theoretically to apply for next year's TDP when it reopens?
Theoretically, yes. And I actually had this question arise, and that's a good question, John. I had this exact situation arise just about 3 weeks or a month ago, where we found out that it's fully subscribed, but it was the same situation where there was an open DMAP project happening. We reached out to the program. I actually don't have a clear-cut answer for you right now. They were worried that, are we just going to have to reapply for DMAP again, or can we take our current DMAP project on the next intake for TDP and apply when that opens up? I don't have an answer for you yet. We're still waiting a response from the program. I'd want to say yes, but I can't for sure.
Okay, so we'll follow up on that, and maybe we can tackle that on our next update.
Absolutely.
So I think this is the last slide, and we're going to go through some concluding stuff in a second. And feel free to advance. I want to tee something up for you, Eric.
Sure.
So when we go in and we put together these roadmaps, I mean, they're typically done as part of a comprehensive program where we have perhaps ERP projects, process improvement projects. They're tied into facility expansion projects, buying robots, leveraging AI. And what I don't want to do is come to you on behalf of a client and say, we've got this one project here. Do we have funding? I mean, how should we be looking at this, and how should we be taking perhaps a bigger picture view?
Yeah, absolutely. You pretty much, every component that you mentioned there, John, hit the nail on the head for what makes a well-rounded CapEx application for these various provincial and federal funding programs. The approach that we like to take, well, we like to put together a comprehensive funding strategy for our clients. So again, yes, we're going to include those one-off immediate implementations that they're looking to do. But to make a strong application for these programs, like I mentioned, they like to see 2 to 4 year project duration. So we like to kind of look long term, what's in the budget for the next 24 months to 48, even if you have it, but as far ahead as you can go. We like to include all components of what you're looking to implement. So it could be that digital technology adoption, AI adoption, the facility expansion, those costs are eligible as well, and any equipment or machinery purchases, and build out from there a more robust project a scope that in turn is what makes a strong application for these CapEx programs. So what I like to do with my team usually starts off with a discovery call and kind of going over those immediate needs, but then looking longer term as well. And trying to, and if it's not a CapEx program, if it's a different program, such as a DMAP or such as something else, such as a hiring program, we like to look at all available funding to assist with the project. So, a really deep dive as opposed to just surface level, we want this one piece of equipment or we want this one piece of, a software that we're looking to implement. Okay, well, what's that going to lead to? Are you going to need to hire any staff on, to assist with the implementation of that, or is this going to lead to, increased production that you're going to need this new piece of equipment next year as well? So we kind of like to do a deep dive and look at a larger project scope that encompasses at least a couple of years. So
Yeah, and that's perfect. And that's what we put together with our clients with the staffing strategy, the backfilling strategy, the technology strategy, all of the foundational projects. So that's great. So that's a
yeah,
takeaway for us that we need to, in our plans with our clients, insert time to meet with you and develop those funding strategies. Look, this was very, very informative, and it's an ever-changing landscape. We appreciate your time. We appreciate the education that you're providing to our audience. So, on behalf of Eric Peeney at the Ryan Group, I'm Jonathan Gross with Pemeco, and Eric will catch up with you soon when some of these new programs change and just to get an update.
yeah,
If
absolutely. It's always a pleasure, John. Thanks for having me. And like I said, I mean, it's an ever-changing landscape. So, in 2 months, it can look completely different from now, right? So that's why I always encourage to reach out and we can take a look at what's out there and available at the moment. So
We'll talk then. Thanks very much.
perfect.